I have dedicated my professional career to the study and control of arthropods.
Okay, this is the fifth and final part of my response to Empty Without Jesus's More of Darwin's Theory Exposed. I finally memorized the title. All right, this last part here, I'm going to try to split this up evenly between the last two things that he discussed, which is this program called Mendel's Accountant and then his quote mines. Hopefully hopefully I'll finish this one early. It's doubtful, but I'll give it a try. First of all, Mendel's Accountant, for those of you not familiar with, I'll put a link to the article. Okay, but it's by Sanford, Baumgartner et al. A bunch of others have contributed to this. And what this is reading the description, reading the secular description that the authors have written about it. Is a computer program used. It's basically a pop gen program. There's a whole bunch of other ones out there. They mention a few of them. They seem to leave out several of the actual ones that are utilized in real science. And instead concentrate on the ones used that undergraduate students use, and like when you're taking ecology and you have to do population genetics modeling, you use these programs. But anyway, that aside, and he talks about Empty Without Jesus discusses how this program proves that evolution is false and proves that natural selection and harmful mutations cannot create a species, and a whole bunch of things that makes the claim that it proves. And I'm going to say this is humorous to me on a lot of different levels. First of all, you do know that what the program is it's kind of like a computer game. You enter a bunch of parameters and then you run this game, you run this scenario, and it draws this little line graph to see where you end up. Okay. Anyway, the point is there's dozens and dozens of such things out there. There's ones that are free, and there's ones you have to buy, and there's ones that real scientists use for real research. The latter being what real scientists use for research, not these games. The point of it is that you change these inputs and you get different outputs. And so what they're claiming on this, what the authors are claiming, not in the article that I'm putting a link up for, the article that he is citing, I haven't found the original one, but I found several similar ones to it on the Institute for Creation Research website. Search for it on that. They talk about if you input these parameters, you kill the population in 6,000 years. Proving, of course, that all life is 6,000 years old, that the Earth has to be 6,000 years old, and all this kind of stuff. Ignoring the fact that they inputted into a computer simulation. All right? You change the parameters again, wow, and all life goes extinct, 120,000 years. Change those parameters again, and life goes extinct in 1,000,000 years. Change those parameters again. Anyway, the point of it is, they entered parameters. They didn't prove anything. Okay, nothing in that study, nothing in there. There's a whole bunch of discussions on online topic forums by people a lot more experienced than I in modeling that talk about the flaws with this program. One of which is the initial population size of a maximum of 1,000. All right, that's a pretty small population. That population, with the size of the genome that they discuss in this, is a bottleneck as it stands. So it's already a population that's hurting. The second thing is they start off with the, I believe from the article, it's discussed that they do the mutation rate, not the mutation rate, I'm sorry, the ratio of beneficial to harmful mutations is really, really skewed towards harmful instead of neutral. And it ignores the fact that a changing environmental, what is a harmful versus beneficial mutation is relative to a specific environment and is relative to other changes and other things in the genome. It's not just like a off and on switch. It's much more complicated than this program allows. Other programs that model using fewer loci but better control these parameters give different results. The point is, I guess what it comes down to is I think it's really, really funny that we for over a decade, I've argued with creationists when I talk about this model and this model and this model and this software with speciation and this model with diversification of populations and such, and they say, that's a computer simulation, it's meaningless. You can't name a real-world example because there are none. As if it's garbage because it's a simulation, and now, here's a simulation that proves creation. Look, it's a computer, it's golden, it's flawless and perfect. There's an irony to that makes me laugh. Now I'm going to spend the rest of my real quick. I would love to talk more about that. Maybe I'll put a link up in this part to the EVC forum discussion on it, but it's pretty interesting. Just do a Google search for Mendel's accountant. There's a lot of topics about it. I'm going to talk about this quote mine thing here. Now you name a bunch of quotes, and I've noticed you put a lot of power into these quotes. I think you have I don't know which book you have. I suspect a few of them. But you put you seem to think that having this collection of quotes at your disposal is like a suit of armor to protect you from all knowledge and evolutionary thought. At least that's the way you seem to use it. Because I've noticed when people challenge you, they say, well, there's thousands of transitional fossils. Your response throughout your videos, you have the response, oh yeah? I have a bunch of quotes that prove otherwise. Want to hear them? I mean, you challenge people like, oh, I'll throw a quote at you, as if that means something. And that's an interesting position to take. The reality is what you're giving are quote mines. Quote mines are taking a quote out of context, sometimes deleting text in the middle of the quote that changes the meaning to something the author did not intend. That's a quote mine. And I'm going to say, I think this may be one of the books you're using, because every one of the quotes that you gave at the end of this talk were out of this What is Creation Science by Morris and Parker. I'm going to say this. You made a point about not reading our fairy tales. Well, you know what? I read all of your fairy tales. Every one of them. Every one of them I get my hands on. If I hear about a new creationist book, I get it, I buy it, I read it in detail, or intelligent design book. I want to know what you guys are saying. I want to actually understand your perspective. Makes me better at what I do. And if anything, reading your stuff has actually strengthened my atheism. But anyway, that aside, you quote, all of those quotes are from this book. So I don't know if this is the one you used. Morris has a number of similar books. Morris is the master, he's passed away, master of the quote mine. You quote, I've done a few, I made a video about this book. I'm not going to search for it. Just do it if you want to search YouTube for it, about What is Creation Science by Henry Morris, because somebody challenged me to read it. Saying it would change my mind if I read this book, and I found it was quote mines. So I spent a good deal of time finding and getting all of the original sources that Morris quotes, Morris and Parker quote, and then looking up those sources and reading what they said in context. And I gave up after a while, but every single, not most of them, not some of them, every single one of the quotes had a completely different meaning when you read it in context. He literally took out words like not, so that it changed it from a positive statement to a negative statement, or whatever the thing is. It is fraudulent. And then to see those things repeated over and over and over again. I mean, you were quoting Stanley. Stanley's lecture wasn't about evolution at all. It was about phylogenies. About taxonomic phylogenies. It was about what we name things, not about their evolutionary history. For example, he took that quote out of context, took out the middle of it, and made it sound like Stanley was talking about the fossils not supporting evolution. When he's talking about the fossils, he was talking about the artificial nature of our phylogenies, of our taxonomy. That's what he's talking about in that quote. Things like that. Okay? And again, I'm going to end this last few seconds here. This is why you need to read material outside of this kind of garbage. Okay? You need to read the sources. Many of these give sources. Read those sources. Read them yourself. Find out why are they lying to you. Ask yourself that question. If this is truth, if we don't need a PhD to be truth, why do these people lie to me? Ask yourself that question. Okay? I wish you the best. I really, truly do. Take care.